All right. And Ihar.
Yeah, I was in the venture breakout room, and there were two big topics we discussed. One is how does it happen that 85% of capital raised by VC was raised by seven top VCs, and why do LPs keep pouring money into this $10 billion funds, and whether it's possible to push down on fees for these $10 billion funds. And basically, the takeaway is that still too many LPs are looking for a safe bet with lower volatility, even with lower returns. However, there was one good point that at least one of these firms is still able to generate very high returns. Still, the best returns are in the small VC space. And the second big topic we discussed was corporate VCs. In the last 2-3 years, corporate VCs became a big player in early stage venture, and they are investing in especially in their verticals. And almost every big company now has a corporate VC arm.
Awesome. Thank you. Latam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. We're on Latin time, so we were a little later
Yeah.
with our session.
You're in Jamaican time.
The main takeaway really with LATAM was the investment environment. Really, a lot of that is driven by rule of law. What does it look like? The investments that go into Argentina, go into Colombia, but not so much into Brazil. That's one of the main takeaways. The other is Guyana. Great, great opportunity there in terms of oil, rare earth minerals, but it's a population of what, 900,000, 800,000, 900,000, small population. How are they going to develop all that? You need human capital to come in there. And that's our takeaways. Thank you very much.
Perfect. All right. Now this is the industries panel. I've asked each panelist to share an insight because they know their industries, their niches, presumably better than most of the people in this room, if not anyone else. So having said that, let's go with Sahir. You're going to introduce Sahir? Or you have a different comment? You're wearing two different name badges. Okay.
That's
Here.
So you asked a question this morning about the use of AI. You asked a question of Ken Goldman about the use of AI and where's the future.
Yep.
And Sahir is the future. It's not biotech, it's tech bio, and this is the best guy on the planet to talk about it.
Well, you told me we should have him, and we have him. Thank you again. Well, in time.
Roommate.
In time. Go ahead, Sahir. You on that note.
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, Sahir Ali, I've been mostly focused on looking at this convergence of tech and bio. And I guess, Mark, you asked, what are my insights? There's this really amazing convergence of tech and bio over the last 20 years. It hasn't happened overnight. And this convergence is kind of in these three particular areas. We're starting to sort of look at a human cell, and actually, let me take it back step just for a second. In late 1800s, we started to sort of look at discovering some fundamental units of life and nature, and one of them was electron, and the other was a cell. And so electron's story is what we have in electronics and everything we do today. Not many people know what sort of happened with the cell. And with the cell, antibiotics and sort of insulin, and then the term biotech was coined in 1970s. And what's happened with human genome projects is that we turned the cell into a digital representation. And so that was human genome projects. So we're starting to look at sequences of life. And over the last 20 years, if you think about the entire life stack of DNA, RNA, protein, which really functions everything about us, we have now literally digitized the entire sequence stack. And so RNA, which is transcriptomics, DNA, which is genomics, the entire omics stack. These are publicly traded companies, by the way, Illumina and all of those. So what's happened now is you have this general purpose technology that just works on sequences, which is LLM. So now you combine that with the hardware, which is the sequencing. And the third component that has come up in the last 20 years is cellular reprogramming. So here's something like stem cells, CRISPR, gene editing. Now you combine these three intersection, what you have is a phenomenal capability of engineering life. And so I want to give you one example. In December 2023, for the first time in human, we now have CRISPR, which can turn off sickle cell as a disease. We've never done cure before. 3 months ago, for the first time, someone was not given a drug or a treatment in the sense, traditional sense. She was given her own reprogrammed stem cells and her type 1 diabetes was reversed. We're starting to now design protein-based drugs that the nature hasn't even seen that protein before through AI. So that's the opportunity space. That's what we call tech bio, not biotech, because traditionally biotech was about single molecule found somewhere and see what
So-
happens.
Christine, top that.
Thanks, Mark.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, yeah.
And the question is insights in terms of,
Where you have an insight.
I guess my sort of area of focus right now is investing in Guyana. And we are watching an economy transform on the basis of oil and gas in Latin America. All of the oil is drilled in deep water platforms offshore, so nothing actually ever comes to shore. But the country sort of went from the poorest in the region to probably in the top 10 per capita GDPs in the world, largest global oil discovery in the last decade. And with 800,000 people and zero infrastructure, there's just an opportunity in everything, in agriculture, in real estate, and no one's really, they went from zero oil to going up to 1.5 million barrels in the next 2 years. And no one's even started to talk about the gas story, which is, I think could be even a larger transformative force. So downstream petrochemicals, fertilizers, you name it.
So like 2 years ago, it was all about St. Lucia. We're going to do $1 billion. You've pivoted.
Which we did.
Yeah.
Number one golf course now in Central America, Mexico, and Latin America, I think. St.
Excellent.
Lucia, yeah.
So Kate,
Sure. So by way of introduction, I run a hedge fund investing in AI and robotics in the public markets with my husband, Grigory. There's some hedge funds have a bad rep for maybe not doing the highest returns. And our goal is to make hedge funds great again, focus on high returns in the public markets, which some of the technologies Sahir was talking about. We see a lot of technologies coming to the public markets. So 2025, we expect to be the year of autonomous technology. And so many here in the room do already know about the innovations we've been seeing in self-driving cars, right? Like 20% of rides in San Francisco right now are by driverless taxis, autonomous tech. Self-driven miles have reached over 10 billion, will reach this year. It's been doubling every 6 months. But what you guys may not be as aware of is what's happening with in the airspaces with electric helicopters and drones. So in electric helicopters, which are basically just better, faster, cheaper helicopters, we're seeing, the Department of Defense awarding $100 million contracts. They like these because they're easier to maintain and repair than traditional helicopters. And we'll see this year, the first electric air taxi flights in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. The FAA, Federal Aviation Authority, has been regulating this space, and they're projecting themselves to approve the first US flights this year in 2025. Also, just this month, we expect the FAA chair to step down, and Trump will be picking a new chair, which we believe will accelerate progress in this space. The FAA has been preventing, they finally just approved drones to be beyond line of sight flight in the US. And, it's hard to do a commercial application with drones if you can't go beyond line of sight. So you're going to see a lot of activity in drones this year as well. So a lot of excitement in airspaces. That's something that we're tracking.
excellent. I'm going to skip Consuelo for a moment and come back,
As you do.
as I do.
He's got, that's
I
why
do it
he's
every
got a name
time.
tag.
Yeah. So Matthew, an insight, what should we all know in
So,
automotive industry?
Insight. So Matthew Friedman, I'm the owner and CEO of Bear Diversified. We're about a $300 million primarily automotive manufacturing company in North America. In addition to conversations and discussions that we had in Naples surrounding the tariffs and EV and what the potential impact is on the automotive industry, what I would say is that my industry and manufacturing in general is most at risk because the younger generation has almost zero desire to get into this whole, category of jobs like tool and die and maintenance and skilled press operators. The youth today, they want to design an app, they want to go to Silicon Valley, they want to, do gaming.
Oh,
And
wait a
so
second, you became a lawyer.
I did, but that was a fallback. And by the way,
Oh.
I got to share an office with you for a year, so
You did. you
it
did.
holds a special place in my heart.
Yes.
Um,
But you made it back to the family business.
I made it back and it was good that they came asking me, so I did it on my terms,
go.
but no, so, we spent a lot of time going out to vocational schools. We spent a lot of time going to the high schools in the area, talking about how the fact that you can come, you can have a solid career, making a place that you can establish a career for a long time. You don't have to be transitional. I mean, that's the other thing we're seeing also on the mid-level management front, right? People are looking for titles over jobs. And they're looking to hop after they get, some sort of incentive bonus. So for us, as we've grown from 150 million to 300 million, the human capital side is one of the scariest things that we're seeing.
Gotcha. Nick?
So I'm Nick Davidoff, early stage AIVC. I'm really excited this year about businesses going autonomous and tools to make businesses autonomous. Super excited about robotics. We're finally seeing some bottlenecks being erased in hardware. So a lot of autonomous stuff is going to come this year. Energy innovation, we need much more energy. So right now, the world's spending roughly 3.6% of the energy generated in data centers, and AI being 2.7% of that. I think we need at least 55 times more to get to what Karpathy believes is going to be market saturation for AI, given in 10 years, given that it's going to mean like it's about 1 billion times more compute. But yeah, so and tech bio is another field where we invest a lot. There's another like chat GPT moment happening in tech bio as we speak, with AlphaFold 2 being, GPT-2, and then somebody's going to do chat GPT very, very soon. So this is a absolutely beautiful time to be alive.
But he was on a sports panel and he showed this really cool thing in Naples of how you can analyze the movement of the players and how all that's changing. She's going to talk about the creative economy. What do you see in your AI portfolio as it relates to the creative economy?
Creative economy, like a creator economy, or anything that,
How would you define it, Consuelo, the creative economy?
Really? Are you sure you want me to start now? I mean, I can wait. No. Hi, everyone. I'm Consuelo Vanderbilt. So lovely to meet all of you.
You can answer it after she speaks.
Yes, but I will answer this. So what's the difference between a creative economy and the creator, right? So the creative economy is really, so whether that's film, music, dance, right? And so what it's actually producing. The creator is the individual that's doing it. That make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Anyone else want to say something about this before? Nope. Okay. Yes. I agree. I totally agree. So, and everyone's been so factual, so I'm gonna just take 2 seconds just to give context for a second. So I've been a singer-songwriter my whole life. I was signed to this beautiful independent label in London called Sanctuary Records. And Sanctuary Records was funded completely by Iron Maiden's publishing catalog. That's what, And the reason I start there is because it's just fascinating, right? That actually we can see where it started. And this is many years. I mean, of course, I'm still 21, of course. But apart from that, it really is one of those things about what is a creator, what's the creative economy, and how does it work, right? So if we take music, for instance, how do you make money in music? You make money through touring, you make money through publishing, you make money through merchandise. And we've got this horrible thing called streaming, and who's taking so much of the money, right? So it's not allowing the creators to be completely in control of what they're doing, of having the most potential to do what they love to do and to maximize the amount of money. So I just want to tell you a few unbelievable statistics that the creative economy is suspected that it actually will account for 10% of the global GDP by 2030. Deloitte predicts that the creative industry could grow up to 40% by 2025, which is unbelievable. So we're just, again, it's just what I really always try to do here is to talk to parents, to say, listen, I know your child, you really wanted to have them as a doctor, you want to have them as a lawyer because you think that that's the safe bet. No, it's not necessarily the safe bet, because what's entertainment? What's storytelling, right? What do we do? What do we live? How do we build freedom? So my company, Soho Muse, is all about a community of collaboration. We have IP that we sell, and we help all creatives, fashion designers, musicians, writers, actors, and give them the chance, because our worlds don't speak between the lovely family offices and businesses, and artists have a very hard time communicating. So I am and try to be the conduit to say artists need to get paid, artists need support, artists need help, and it's a huge industry, and really since COVID is exponentially growing, and I'm here to
So
fight
how
that.
is it being disrupted by AI, or how is it disrupting?
So you could take a song, which is so fascinating. I've tested it, and I've been in the studio, and we've really looked at it and watched, like, you know, does the song have enough compassion and heart that you feel it the same way? And I'm like this, well, I'm a female, I have hormones and I have a period, so I don't know that AI can do that, just saying. But I know there's a few laughs, men are like, women laugh, men are like, yeah. Will a computer, can we actually get it to the point where it will be strong enough and programmed enough that it will have that? Yes, it probably will, but I will still say it doesn't have a heartbeat.
Can I
Go.
argue? So basically, I agree with you that for a human ear, like an AI artist will never surpass top like 5% human artists. The problem is that human artists make money based on the algorithm of streaming apps, and AI is doing stuff that is better for the algorithm.
All true. You can't deny that. But watch how you're talking in facts, right? I'm talking in heart, you're talking in facts. That's the difference. It will always be, this is the connection and the disconnect, right? You're absolutely right in facts. There's no question about what you're saying. But I'm going to still say, when you sit down and you listen to an Annie Lennox song, let's take something back in the day, right? Something we all know in heart. And you take something in AI, and yes, it will feel, it can sound, right? But it will never be the same. Your heartbeat and your pulse, right? We resonate at artists. So when you talk about disruption,
It's like drum machines. We had a very good discussion with the guy who runs the recording academy. With forgot his name, but
he's brilliant. I'm part of the recording.
he brought up his example of his dad, who was a drummer, and he brought in home like a drum machine and said like, this thing's gonna replace me. But then he's like, no, I'm gonna be a user of a drum machine, and it's gonna make me brilliant.
That's right.
So do you see creative economy becoming just a user of AI tools to become better and more productive, or is it disruption?
I do. I think that we will have to, and already are users, and that there was a fight against it, but I think that we will have to. It's like anything in life, right? If you fight against something and you're not current and you're not aware, then what happens? You lose out, right? You're not there. We will have to become the best of what we are, and so skilled beyond belief. But again, I start with something that this is the importance. Sorry, I talk about parents. It's really important. And I use this example a lot. There's two students, right? One who goes to Stanford and one who goes to Juilliard, let's say. Juilliard student wants to be a composer. Stanford wants to be a lawyer. Both come out the exact same time. What happens? Lawyer immediately is paid. What happens to the composer? How long does it take for that composer to get paid? And how often are we said, you got to like intern, you got to do this, and you have to have 5 other jobs, which makes the parent not want to support the child doing it. So I say, I'm still going back
There's
there.
another factor.
Yes.
having- Being the father, of parent, 3 kids who consume media.
Yes,
And there are a lot of people getting rich off of appealing to the algos that appeal to my kids
sure.
that could be, everybody sort of aspires to that as well. But let's pull back to the other end if we could,
The
Sahir.
gentleman was asking a question, just saying.
You're asking another question?
Oh, I thought you were raising. Yeah.
So in any field of endeavor, right, including creative, right, there's sort of a pyramid of talent, I would say, right, or a pyramid of quality of output, right? So let's say the top level singer you could ever think of versus the journeyman, singers, right? So I potentially could AI replace from the bottom, right, so that it becomes more and more like the journeyman, and then eventually it sort of starts reaching towards the top where AI can actually replicate sort of heartbeats and sort of like all of that, right? Eventually it sort of gets up there, right? The question is, does that reduce opportunity in the sense that, of course, the tools are still there, right? The opportunity is still there for creators to use those tools, but does the opportunity space decrease because it's so much easier for the lower level of the pyramid to now get to push upwards, right, in terms of the quality?
I think that's an absolutely brilliant question, right? Now, I'm not a psychic or a tarot card reader, so I don't know what is going to happen, right? But yes. But then I look at a fashion designer, bless you, right? A fashion designer, let's say this, is taking the skill of the grandmother, teaching them how to sew and understanding fabrics and understanding what that looks like, right? And the actual quality of what it looks to make something and design something and build something. Can an AI suddenly start to build clothes and create the Yes, but is the quality and the touch and the way and the thing ever going to be the same? And don't we now today look for trusted, right? Everyone wants to be vetted. Everyone wants to trust a source. Everyone wants to know and understand. So I say to you, is it all possible? Yes, it's all possible. But do you lose, in essence, always the heart and the integrity of something? I think so, which I know why half the men didn't laugh about the period conversation, but women do, right? Just saying.
Well, we have a healthcare fund. Was Rich Sobel in the crowd? That she was saying she's making menopause fun.
I'm not there yet, but I think that would
I
be
know.
great. Like, let's.
Well, that takes me back to
Let's say
healthcare.
that, yes.
It's
Like
Julia
very fun.
Montrini.
Yes.
So back to
there.
maybe to the front of Sahir again. What, maybe a prediction next year, or we've been at this for 10 years, but some predictions of where you see the industry in 1 to 10 years.
I think there's going to be, or there's already is a great divide with what we call health and what we call well-being. And part of that shift is going to be, which already is happening with wearables, like the Aura and everything else, is that especially Ozempic. Ozempic is not a bio innovation in many ways. We knew GLP-1s since 90s, by the way. And it took a woman to really drive that because nobody was listening to her for 10 years. But is that it's a consumer story. So we're living in a different era where there's a sort of millennial Gen Zs or whatever that new generation is. They're sort of digital generation, and the proliferation of information and adoption is different than, say, someone who's maybe 50 or 60. So to answer your question, I think there's going to be a drive where healthcare is not going to be restricted to 15 minutes of appointment with the doctor. You're going to see consumer omics. You're going to get a lot more data about your own self. And so what the focus a lot more is going to be on well-being. And the well-being is going to come in form of wearables, a lot of consumerization of things. Today, if you want to lose weight, you can get on Ozempic for better or worse, but you can take things in your hands. And I think that we're going to start to see that a lot more. And consumer health market, by the way, just because I'm focused on health, is growing at 8% CAGR. And so that's a huge space. So my prediction, we're going to see a lot of consumerization of health.
Christine, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me when I was listening to the rest of you was, your focus on self-driving helicopters, yours on AI. And what we're seeing is just basic, low-tech, low-hanging fruit, right? Of, imagine, so we just closed on a deal for a timber concession in the interior of the Amazon. These guys have logs on the ground of high-end, well sought after wood that they can't afford to log out and turn into cash because they can't afford bulldozers and haulers, and there's no capital market, there's no equity. So those that show up with capital and basic mechanization, just, I guess, cream really the crop of what's there. And roads, highways, bridges, all these things that were, 70 years ago that happened here are now happening there. And so 10 years from now, I think we see something like maybe how Dubai developed, how Qatar developed, how Angola developed. And you look some of the before and after pictures of those places, and it's hard to believe what they were when you see them now. So that's the future of Guyana. I think the question is whether, the wealth can be appropriately managed and the resource curse, doesn't actually go the wrong way. But there certainly is great leadership in place for the first time. And I think unlike some parts of Latin America, Guyana is this interesting. Somebody said something about, Latin America not being at all united. It's true, right? So this is part of the CARICOM region, Guyana, Suriname, while the rest is all a different sort of setup. But, can you actually really create that? The geopolitics are totally different. You have a Muslim president who has links to the Middle East, and a Hindu president that second in command that has links to Modi in India, who just visited, as well as the American influence of Exxon, etc. So it's a slightly different geopolitical situation. The U.S. versus
But when
China
you're
is
10
at
years
play
from now,
there.
what's it like?
I think it's, maybe Qatar 10 years ago,
Wow,
perhaps.
there we go. All right, Kate, prediction?
Sure, so I think I'll borrow yours.
Yeah, please do.
So, so folks in this room, you may already have some experience with self-driving. Maybe show of hands who has Tesla or has driven in, say, a Waymo car. Well, the models have been getting better and better at an exponential rate. And part of this is because they've gone to end-to-end training and they've ripped out all of this C++ code that previously the engineers were sweating over with every new release. Now, this end-to-end training model is really accelerating progress, and it's moving out into all of the robotics companies. So when you look at robotics companies, about 90% of the value there is really around the software. And what they're all trying to do is the same thing: take, vision, video, and turn it into an understanding of the world, a map of the world, and then act on that. So I expect, to your question, that in the next 10 years, we'll see more of a generalized robotics intelligence, that all of these efforts are going to kind of come together instead of each company being so siloed, trying to make their own secret sauce model. We're going to see this confluence. And, we're going to have robots everywhere automating all these robotic tasks. Humans are going to live longer thanks to some of Sahira's efforts, and we're all going to have more time to be creative. And, that's going to be the biggest question, is what to do with your time. Imagine you have, this army of robots and autonomous assistants. You get back your time with self-driving. It's going to be a very exciting future. And so I think just expect to see more robots than you are currently predicting. More time for pickleball.
Yes.
Yeah.
And recover.
So, there are two transportation research centers. One's in California, the other is in Ohio, and 361 visited it. And we found out that the budgets of they camouflage the cars. So they said it rhymes with Smesla, right, or something, but it was it was 100 million going to 200 million, just the research at that research center. There was just testing, testing, testing. But do I skip you, Consuelo, or do you want to go now?
I can go.
Okay, go. Predictions.
Predictions is, I would say, it's that all creators are going to really need to be completely independent. Just where you're talking about silos, labels become much less important anymore. 3 to 4 years ago, we were really on blockchain and on tokenization, right? And there was such a huge surge into what that looked like. The problem is, and will always be this, when you tokenize any kind of, let's say I'm putting together an album release right now. And if I don't have the followers to be able to support it, the token doesn't have the support. So I think what it is of today is really being able to, how do you gather all of the supporters? How do you have all of the followers? How do you independently, whether I am a fashion designer, whether I'm a musician, be able to absolutely have the creative control by myself? And I think that that's really going back to the creator economy, I think is absolutely where we're going to be.
Matthew?
So 10 years from now, hopefully I'll be retired. So that'll be the biggest difference. And
You said that 10 years ago.
I will be fly fishing. I won't be playing pickleball. So I think the biggest question is what's really going to happen with the power structures for automotive. I mean, EV, we're already seeing the challenges. We're seeing the slower adoption than was predicted with the current administration. You're seeing the taking away of the incentives. Also from a global pollution standpoint, the energy that's involved in mining the lithium, the fact that so many of the lithium mines are controlled by other countries. I think that hydrogen hopefully is the future. I think it makes the most sense if we can get there. And there's a lot of effort that's going on in that regard. So, unless somebody can really sell me on how we're going to create an infrastructure for charging, how we're going to solve the power grid problem, how we're going to solve the pollution issue, I think EVs is going to still be something, but it's going to give way to some superior technology.
10 years is a very interesting horizon. So I think by the end of the decade, we'll see money becoming something very different from what we are used to. I think compute is going to become more noticeably the next currency. AGI will basically figure out that humans are so stupid that they can trade actual power and compute in exchange for bits and bytes in their bank accounts. Lots of small businesses that are like a single person runs a business that is a multi-billion-dollar company just with compute as a major resource, basically same as like your salary fund. We'll start to see huge productivity boosts across the board, and I think in about 10 years we'll see that AI is becoming faster and better at coming up with new things than people. So we'll stop doing research without AI, and it's pretty much gonna do research for us. So whoever like the power structure of the society is gonna start changing. It's not. I'm not saying it's gonna change in 10 years. I'm saying that like we'll start notice.
We're going to elect AIs.
I hope so. Actually, I do hope so. Yeah, because I am all for being governed by machines, open source.
We talked about companies that have no humans that are forming. So
I already saw one this year. Trades on Amazon. It manufactures goods in China. It hires people to go check on the goods, and then it hires another person to go check on the previous
Then we
person's
said,
job.
who's on the board?
There's just one guy and his capital. What happens to me as a VC? Like, like I am not a human being. Why would you assume my, yeah, I'm not a human being. No.
By the way, we're in Naples, family offices have such a bad rap. People don't want to be called family offices right now. There's a few. I'm still a human. We're all humans.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll,
cool.
we'll
So
have to figure it out.
let's those are all very interesting. Questions from everyone? No questions? Okay, Steven.
Nick, you gave a pretty compelling case for the energy needs going forward. Could you share that with the rest of the group? Because that was pretty fascinating, AI and the needs going forward.
Yeah, so basically we need to double humanity's energy production to satisfy the needs of the basically if AI research stops where it is now and we don't produce any more breakthroughs in order to satisfy every industry and completely, transform and augment the way knowledge workers do their stuff, even without robot, I'm not touching physical intelligence, which is going to be big. We need to double our energy production. So energy is going to be very, very important. Nuclear is the best source of energy for data centers because of the flat output. Because of virtualization, you can consume all of it. So it's going to be a very different decade. We'll see a lot of new technologies that were
And
staggered
just to
developed.
chime in here, because it's such an important question. I mean, there's a very straightforward relationship, capital invested, how many GPUs that can buy, and how much energy they need. So you can back out energy needs projected just based off of the projected investments. And we've just seen this past week the $500 billion Stargate announcement, which shows you that this is beyond the means of just one company even
That's
anymore.
roughly 70 gigawatts of compute. That is
Exactly.
2.5 of what we currently have. So we're
Yeah.
doubling down on compute.
And so it's beyond the means of a one company. To give some perspective, like Microsoft's whole cash flow is 80 billion, right? So this is big efforts. They're going to be building them right next to power sources, and it's a critical question of the future.
Can I?
Just-
It's
sorry,
it's
just-
quite relevant what happened in the last 5 days, though.
Right.
Just, I totally
DeepSeek.
agree. But, we've seen this sort of thing before, which is when Thomas Edison was fighting his losing battle of direct current versus alternative current, Nikola Tesla, if we had all gone with DC, every quarter mile we see gigantic power stations. Versus new technology came, which was Nikola Tesla said, alternating current is the way to go, and all you need is a transformer to just put the lines over. And I think we're starting to see that happen. A lot of money has gone into these GPUs and large language models and large data, which was internet. We scraped most of that. We burned a lot of that. What DeepSeek that came out of China has shown us. Now, let's see if it's believable. They burned $6 million to put up a model that is now comparable to what OpenAI did for billions of dollars. And so let's say if it's believable, they spent $6 million. We're starting to see a shift, seismic shift. So this power computes and all of that, I think we're starting to see maybe AC versus DC sort of situation. Not today, but at least 5 years from now, I think we will solve the power consumption issue. I'm hoping we will.
Can I just, we need to be comparing apples to apples. So OpenAI did not spend billions of dollars on their models. So because it's only compute time. So 6.5 million, as they claim, which I take with a grain of salt, is only on compute time. So like comparably, like O1 or 3, they're in like 80, 90 million dollar range. So it's not multiple orders of magnitude. It's not that bad.
No, sorry. Yes, I agree that if you build a technology early first adopter, you're burning a lot of money to come to a point like O1. I agree. However, the next compounding is going to be cheaper and faster, and it's going to be leaner is what I'm making a case for. It's the same thing as Thomas Edison showed that the transmission of electricity is possible, while did that with large, gigantic transmitters. But next person will come in like DeepSeek.
Yeah. Yep.
Smaller models, we should remember that the DeepSeek model is distilled from somebody else's model. All that training resources still had to be.
Oh, yeah.
Build out as like smaller models just allow us to use them more and more. And you can just look at what the big players are doing, where they're putting their money.
When this subject came up, you mentioned if the models stopped innovating today, that those would be the power demands, and they're not going to stop, right? So like the power demands, which is where you were going, I think several of us, in the mid to late 20th century, one of the primary concerns in New York City was the amount of horse manure that was piling up in the streets. A few years later, the automobile was invented, and that was no longer a problem. I look at AI, spend a lot of time around it and its power generation requirements. And one of the first things AI is going to do is determine how it can reduce its power requirements while increasing its performance capabilities. And so I also agree that designing your strategy around AI as a limiter from a power draw is not an appropriate strategy. It's going to have year over year and eventually be relatively inexpensive.
That my calculation has included that. So basically, it's a Jensen's law. But yeah, it's AI cannot go beyond laws of physics, fortunately or unfortunately. Because the chips are small enough.
Or the matter of the heart, according to the creative.
Speaking of. Thank you. So thank you all for sharing your brilliant insights with all of us. Thank you so much. And my question is for Consuelo regarding the creative economy and your forecast in the next 10 years. Do you see artists keep on going with streaming? Or do you feel like there are other opportunities for technology to support artists with what you need as an artist in order to create the economy that you want as a creator? And then also the second part to the question, if you could please speak to the power of community to support artists, because really Soho Muse is so much about community and the community of artists and how important that is with the creator economy and creative economy. Thank you.
Beautiful questions. Thank you.
Felt planted. No, I'm joking.
But so good with my name tag. It's off now. You took it. Oh, okay. All right. So as I said, I believe wholeheartedly that the creative will have to take complete control, just like what Taylor Swift has done, right? When she took that initiative with Spotify, it completely changed the game on how streaming is. But that's Taylor Swift, right? She had to be at that kind of level because everyone else is still like Apple iTunes, making sure that all these streaming things will actually work for them, YouTube. So how do we provide services where the artist owns the IP, where the artist controls the streaming, and that they're able to build enough of the audience, which is what I was talking about, the tokenization component. And again, this is where we have to be able to build in audiences, right? So that you can develop your own streaming platform and be able to control it. IP is exactly where it needs to be, 100%. So that's what I would say to that, right? Does that answer your question about that? Just about building, like how independently you're going to have to start your own streaming platforms. Do I think that at some point Spotify is going to have to come down and reduce fares and like their rates? I don't know. They're doing so well. Like, do they need to? Unless a Taylor Swift comes on board. That's why I mean controlling and everything doing on your own. It's the same thing as film, owning your IP, your own distribution, owning book rights, podcasts, all of that, right?
So,
Sorry, and the second part of this question and why I built Soho Muse and why I left music, my single was #5 in the US and I was touring and I realized that by building a membership-based site that actually brand X, who's looking to build a fashion show, music video, film in any given country, that we were able to build both below the line talent, above the line talent, and actually get everyone paid. So I do events like at the Guggenheim with Emilio Stefan, Art Basel, where we bring in exceptional talent, fashion designers, musicians, who don't get the opportunity to be seen, but you and your beautiful family office and investment actually get the chance to be able to see these people. And guess what? Hey, and buy them and get them noticed. So that to me, building a community of extraordinary creatives that get noticed, that get paid, that get seen. That's what I look for.
We call it a
Faceted.
Well, in a way, it's like multi-attribution, people who can help them along the way and reward
Yes.
them as well, reward the chain.
Patrons, where did we first start? Right? If
But it's
there
also-
weren't
but it's also
patrons,
the
where would?
connector to the patron.
That's
As long as
exactly
it's not a
right.
securities transaction, as my broker dealers, we can help each other along the way.
I agree.
Last question, and then we're going to go to what's important to us. It's like we make all this money, and how do we help the community?
Here.
I'll give it to you. A year from now, we did the prediction. Where do you want to be? And where can we help you as a community in a year from now?
So the question is, where can the community help? So, wow. No, I haven't thought about that actually. Maybe I'll pass and I'll come back to me.
Gee, thanks. Where do I want to be? Well, we launched our first fund that's probably 25 million and soon start a second, probably 50. Where I'd like to be is maybe 500 million under management 5 years from now. And in terms of a community, apart from, investments, I think talent. Anybody that has talent that's looking to, put it to work in a place that really changes the world. There's a lot of need.
Right. So we launched our fund with early investors, some of the top venture capitalists and tech execs. I know Ken Goldman shouted out to 8VC this morning. So a partner at 8VC is an investor in our fund. Thank you. But where we would like to go is grow the fund, of course. But also, we really believe in supporting deep tech, American innovation in the public markets, top American talent. These are some of the things that we focus on around the fund. And I'm sure that there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate with people. For example, we do dinners for some of the top Stanford founders out in the Bay Area. And so reach out to me if those are, things that strike your interest, and would love to connect.
Love that. Yes. I hope. So one of the things we're doing, knowing that the beautiful Latin American market is derived of 18 to 20% of the US, but they do not get seen, and those talent doesn't get seen. So we're building a TV show around actually going to all these beautiful countries, Argentina, and really being able to see the culture. So very much of an Anthony Bourdain type show, but in it, we get to discover extraordinary designers and the talent and the build. And then at the end of it, we have these amazing dinner clubs. This is you, like we did at Art Basel. And we bring in loads of family offices and investors to come in and be a part of it and be a part of this world and to support this talent. So same as you. If anyone is interested in being a part of that, it would be wonderful to connect with you. We are doing another event at Art Basel. And I sit on the board of LATMO, which is one of the largest Latin family offices for. So anyway, my name is Consuelo. So nice meeting all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Consuelo. So I'm on both sides of the fence on this. So in the short term, as I look to grow my company from about 300 million to 400, we have a couple of projects that are going to require some investment capital. So we've been talking to a number of parties, either on the lending side or on the investment side, in range from 20 to 25 million over the next couple of months to launch an EV growth. As much as I said, EV I don't think is going to be there in the long term. In the short term, it's very much part of our strategy. And then I hope to exit and sell with the potential investor in the next 3.5 to 4 years. So getting contacts with family offices and people who advise family offices and other vehicles for investments.
Yeah, I got one. So in 1 year, I want to finally get done with fundraising because I hate fundraising. Like I haven't met a person who truly does love fundraising. Yeah, but I wouldn't give them money. So yeah, we need another 45 mil for the Series A fund, and then basically we'll go back to building, and just doing stuff. We also do dinners with AI researchers and founders. We do conferences. April 24th, save a date. It's San Francisco Jazz, our 600 people conference. AI founders, AI VCs. By the way, I hope we have the same partner in 8VC as an LP. Yeah. But there are a few. Yeah, so just focusing on the community, making sure amazing people help each other, because a community can only survive if there are also horizontal links built in it, not only going to the center. And network effects are real. The power community is amazing.
Yes, yeah, okay. So Biden government had put out this executive order in 2022 called bioeconomy. So I would recommend everybody read that. And it was actually bipartisan. And so I've been working on that strategy for the last 2 years. And so if that's interesting, you can come talk to me. Well, key thing, bioeconomy is it's not just health and medicine. The substrate of tech bio proliferate from manufacturing to agriculture to even the dye. 25% of the dyes in clothing are now made with enzymes from human bodies. So things like that, if you're interested, come talk to me, I suppose. Yeah, thank you.
Wait, you're so nice. You're very Midwestern. Where are you from?
Houston.
Houston. But you're not raising any money, you're not,
Well, I do have a fund structure, so.
how much are you raising?
Well, the good news is
This is
that
not a pitch,
as
it's
of
just-
yesterday,
it's just a
as of
fact,
yesterday,
it's a
I've
fact.
got a subscribed fund. But
you're
yes,
done?
we're closing at mid-February, but if you want to talk to me, I'm happy to chat, yeah.
Okay, very, very good. All right, well, last, thank you, everybody, for giving us insights, appreciate it. Last panel, Oscar, we just did this before. He's got Rich Nespola, who I've seen grow up in a way. He's sort of taking more of the reins of his family office.
Come join our 361 firm community of investors and thought leaders. We have a lot of events created by the community as we collaborate on investments and philanthropic interests. Join us.